Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Dr. Movie Road Warrior. What was it? Road Warrior Reviews on Wheels. Something like that. Where the doctor is in his car. And you listen, or you turn it off, whichever you do first. I don't know. Tie all those together, we might have a slogan there. Back again for a week of Smokey movies, right? So these are knockoff movies because Smokey and the Bandit was such a big hit. And Smokey and the Bandit Part 2 did quite well. So everybody was trying to cash in. And you know, Roger Corman was no different, right? If anybody's going to jump first, it's usually Roger Corman, right? So New World Pictures presents in 1981, Smokey Bites the Dust. Yeah. This is 100% drive-in theater movie. I actually had a lot of fun with this one. The quality is not great. You can tell it's one of those movies they just rushed out and made over a weekend. It sure felt like it. But you know what? There's a beauty to it. Very low budget, very fast moving, tons of car crashes. I told my wife while I was watching this, I was like, I don't know how they afforded this movie because there's a lot of car crashes in this one. So kind of have to hand it to them there. And we got a pretty big cast, a bunch of nobodies at the time, but people you kind of seen in other stuff later on. So again, this is 1981. So after Smokey and the Bandit, possibly after Smokey and the Bandit 2. I don't have that information right in front of me, but I know it's right there close. But the star of this movie is Jimmy McNichol. That's right, Christy McNichol's brother, who did not go on to do a whole lot more. He was in some bands and stuff, and, you know, again, some TV shows. We got a very young William Forsythe in this. The first time I see him in the movie, kind of didn't recognize him. So, very, very young. Of course, William Forsythe, I mean, come on. Raising Arizona, Once Upon a Time in America, I mean, come on. He's a national treasure. Walter Barnes plays the sheriff, who's the Smokey. And he was in a bunch of westerns and action flicks from back in the 60s. We have Carrie Lizer in this. She was in several things. She was on Matlock quite a bit, all the time actually, and several other movies. Let me think of some here. Private School from '83, right? So not long after this. So she's one of those people that you saw around in some other stuff. We've got Janet Julian in this, or Janet Lansbury, whatever you want to go with, playing our main squeeze, Peggy Sue, in this movie. Was in several flicks too. She was in Humongous. She was in King of New York. Another favorite of mine, Ghost Warrior. Yeah, that one's fun. So yeah, we got quite a few, and not to mention, you got some of the old standards. You obviously you can't have a Roger Corman flick and not have Dick Miller in it. And we also got Nancy Parsons in this from Porky's and Motel Hell, right? So just a little bitty brief cameos in this movie, but they're there regardless. So for our synopsis of this movie, it's pretty typical. It says a teenage hot rodder steals a car and kidnaps homecoming queen. That's the sheriff's daughter, right? So come on, it's a teenage version of Smokey and the Bandit, right? Except instead of it being his future daughter-in-law, like in Smokey and the Bandit, it's the sheriff's daughter, right? So that's kind of the story here. It's a lot of fun. I mean, you start off with a big car chase where Jimmy McNichol's character is stealing looks like a little Fiat or Triumph car, and burning up the roads, and you got a bunch of cars chasing and four-way stops and cars coming from both sides, and it's a lot of fun, right? He's a high school student. They're getting prepped for homecoming, and the sheriff chases him to the school, but he doesn't see who the driver is, and he's trying to find out who the car belongs to. When he finds out it belongs to a different person at the school, and he starts chasing the guy, and he's chasing the wrong guy, right? That's kind of the thing there. So it comes the night of having homecoming football game, and you got William Forsythe's character, who's like the quarterback of the main team, and he's in love with Peggy Sue, and he wants to be out there and see her get crowned. Maybe he's not in love with Peggy Sue, but he's in love with the other girl. What's her name? The Cindy character. That's what it is. Because she ends up in a car with a guy that has offered up his car, which looks like a Mazda convertible. I'm not exactly sure. They've taken the names off the vehicles. Obviously, it's not an American-made car. But that's the car they're going to do the homecoming queen in and have her come across the football field. Well, Roscoe, which is Jimmy McNichol's character, gets Peggy Sue in the car and then just takes off with it. And then the chase pursues from there. So even William Forsythe leaves the football game, jumps in an old truck, and is chasing as well, because everybody's jumping in cars and taking off after the homecoming queen. Needless to say, so is the sheriff, right? And that's pretty much this movie. I mean, there's a lot of side stories going on in this, where this guy that stays in jail all the time, he's almost like an Otis Campbell from Andy Griffith, who stays kind of drunk all the time. But he's created some kind of new formula of gasoline that he's trying to sell to the Arabs, I guess is the best way to put it. Some guys from the Middle East driving a Rolls Royce, and they make a deal for a million clams, right? Which you can kind of see where that's heading, right? And so you got all this crazy zaniness. It's trying to be mad world kind of humor. It's a road flick. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, but you know what? It's fun. Some of it you roll your eyes at because it's kind of cliche, but for the most part, I had a good time with this one. I thought it was a lot of fun. So, I think you should check it out. It's on Tubi. It's on for free. The quality is pretty crappy. The version that they have is not the best. I would like to see a nice cleaned up version of this, because again, the movie's not bad. The chase scenes are really good. Obviously, there's a lot of setup, car crashes, setup, buildings being destroyed, and when you see them in the shot, you already know they're going to run through the building or whatever. That's just part of the deal. But I'm telling you, if I would have seen this at the drive-in at 81, at 11 years old, I would have thought this was one of the coolest movies I've ever seen. There's that much action going on that it keeps you involved. And the last, 5-10 minutes of this movie is just so zany, over-the-top goofiness. There's so much chaos going on at the same time, where everything's come to a head at the side of a lake shore, and it's just crazy. You got the Arabic guys trying to chop off the heads of some people. You got the sheriff obviously chasing Roscoe and Peggy Sue. You got William Forsythe fighting the other guy that took off with Cindy. You got, all of this is going on in this one little area, and you've got your kind of Roscoe Pico train deputy, or Barney Fife. He's pretty useless, but always in trouble. Things never go his way. He's the bumbling idiot. You got all these tropes that are in this movie, but you know what? It's kind of a nice slice of nostalgia to go back and watch it. If you're not familiar with these styles of movies, you probably won't get this at all. But if you like the road movies, if you like Smokey the Bandit, Cannonball Run, Eat My Dust, which will probably be on this show for too long, Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, all these road movies like this one sits right in there very well. So, I don't know. I recommend this one. If you like those kind of flicks, this is a fun romp. it just gets crazier and crazier as it goes. But I can't say enough that, you know, these car crashes, I'm really impressed. Because, again, when I see New World Cinema pop up, I know what I'm in for, right? And I'm going to say it, this probably has more car crashes than any movie I've ever seen. Just throwing that out there. Could be wrong, but, I mean, I couldn't even count them. There were so many. It's non-stop car crashes, right? And you got crazy stuff where, you know, initially he kidnaps the girl, you know, the main character, Roscoe. He kidnaps the girl, but eventually they end up liking each other, and they end up, you know, being a team. So you got all that kind of stuff. You got weird stuff when they go to this motel because she needs to use the bathroom, but she's really trying to escape. And they get taken to this room by this, you know, burned out hippie who can't see, and he takes them to this room that somebody else is already occupying, and there's a person in the bed dressed up in a gorilla suit trying to sleep. You know, it's one of those bonkers movies that just has all those crazy elements. So again, if you like that kind of stuff, this is a perfect example of what a drive-in movie was. And I appreciate that, because I grew up going to the drive-in with my aunt, my uncles. They would take me to go see these movies. Didn't even know what the movie was going to be, but you knew it was going to be a car flick or you know, an action flick or whatever. And this one sits right in there. So good cast, lots of fun, bad dialogue, great car crashes. There you go. That's this movie. That's Smokey Bites the Dust. So check it out. It's on Tubi. It's on there for free. Enjoy. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. It's just a good middle-of-the-road movie for me. It's not one I'll revisit a lot. But if somebody wanted to watch it again with me, I'd be up for it. So have some fun with this one, folks. Till then, we will check you later.